This is the Research Unit Packet video number 1. You should have your white Research Unit packet out, as well as the pink packet, which is source number 1. It should look somewhat like this. You will be turning in this white packet, so make sure that you do have your name at the top, your hour, and let me know if you were an A day or a B day. Students who are in class today are simply following along with the teacher as they fill out the first couple of pages. Since you are at home, you're going to watch this video as you fill out pages 1, 2, and 3 of the packet. If you do not have the paper materials available, remember they are available online in today's Schoology folder if you need them. Turn to page 1 in your white packet. Now, for our research unit, we are going to be working on a couple of different things. We'll be working on finding works cited information. This means locating and recording the information that would often be used on a works cited page, or what used to be called the bibliography. Because to avoid plagiarism, when you're done with a research product, whether it's a paper, poster, or presentation, you need to provide a list of your sources, which is now called a works cited page. We're also going to be researching different sources. We're going to read 3 articles, and we're going to gather facts and quotations, which would be opinions, that are going to help answer our research question. Now, the research question that we're going to look at, it applies to a current event that is impacting you all right now. Has distance learning been an effective way of learning during COVID-19 pandemic? So in these 3 articles, we're going to try and find facts and opinions about if distance learning was good or not during the pandemic. Let's scroll to page number 2 in the white packet. Now, this has a lot of information on it, so we're going to look at it one piece at a time. The first thing we're going to look at is this box over here. Now, since we have to list our sources at the end, we want to keep track of which information came from which source, so that we know exactly where each fact and opinion came from, whether that was source 1, 2, or 3. Now, today we are going to be working with source 1. So I'm going to get my text box ready. You hopefully have a writing utensil ready. And here in this box, we're going to put the number 1. Or better yet, let's write source 1. Because everything that we put on these first pages is going to come from source number 1. That'll be the article that is in the pink packet. So everything we write on page 2 and 3 will all come from that article. Now, what we have next is a working works cited. Basically, we're going to be collecting information that would traditionally go onto our works cited page at the end of our paper. Again, this used to be called a bibliography. Regardless on what you call it, there is certain information that it is going to need. So we are going to go through this information and we're going to find it in our source number 1. Now, these are examples of what the entries often look like when they go on your works cited page. So this is quite often what you'll see a list of. Now we need to find this information, but about our article. So here's what you need for your works cited entry. The first thing is our author's last name. So when we look at source number 1, most articles have the information you need somewhere at the top. And our author is a person. So as we look through here, we want to find the person who wrote the article, which is right here, Leanne Itali. So since Itali is the last name, that's what's going to go in the blank. We're going to capitalize the first letter. We're going to spell it correctly because it is disrespectful to misspell somebody's name on a works cited page. The next thing we need is their first name. So as I go to my article, again, this is source number 1. Here is my author's first name, Leanne. All right. The next thing we need is the article title. There's our article title right at the top, and it's a pretty long title. Now, one thing you might notice is that Newsela and other online articles, they don't capitalize their titles correctly, so we might have to do some fixing. So we have this long title. When we put it into our works cited box, we are going to need to make sure that we not only capitalize the first word, but we're also going to have to capitalize the last word and all of these important words in between. So let's do that now. The name of the article was, "What Do the Kids Say?" ? Students sound off on school during pandemic. When I put my title in, I not only capitalized the first word of the title, I also capitalized the last word, and then anything that was important in the middle, which really the only words that aren't considered important are the words the and on. At any point, if you need to pause this video so that you can fill in your packet, go ahead. Now we're going to move on to the next piece of information, which is the web magazine title. We're going to try and find which magazine this article was first published in. So as I look up here, quite often it's the next piece of information, Associated Press. So that is where Newsela found this article. It was originally published by the Associated Press. And that is a title. So we capitalize the first word and we capitalize the last word. Now, since this is a magazine title, we're going to underline it as well, because magazine titles get underlined. All right, the next piece of information we're searching for is the publisher name. So that's who made it available to us. And that would be Newsela. They're the ones that published this article so that we could access it. Please capitalize Newsela as it is a proper noun. Next, we have our date of publication, which is when Newsela put this article out there for us to read. Oh, there is our date of publication. Now, they put it as date, the date as the month, the date, and the year. When you're putting this into the works cited, you actually change that around. You start with the date, then you put the month, and then you put the year. So it should be 18 August 2020. We do that because only Americans put the month first. The rest of the world puts it in the opposite order. So we want to make sure it would make sense even if someone from another country read our Works Cited page. The next thing is medium of publication. They just want to know if this was an online source or if this was a paper source. Since ours was an online source, as in the article was found online, we use the word web. That means when we searched for the source, we found it on the internet. The next piece of information is date accessed. And that means what day did you read the article? Now we read the article today, so we need to use today's date. And again, we're going to put it in the order of date, month, and then year. So today's date is the 9th. The month is March, and the year is 2021. Again, the first date here is when they published it. The second one is when we read it. Now, the final step is to create the parenthetical citation for our source. This would usually be used in the actual research paper if we were going to write one. Now, the nice thing about the parenthetical citation is it's usually only one word long, and we simply take the first word that we wrote in this box. The first word that we wrote in this box happened to be the author's last name. So our parenthetical citation is Italic. That's it. We could then put this next to our facts in our research paper, and then whoever read the paper would know that our information came from the source that starts with the word Italic, which is source number 1 for us. So now I have all of the information I would need to create a Works Cited entry for my Works Cited page, or what used to be called a bibliography. And I could eventually create that Works Cited page using this information. Now, at this time, we're going to quick go over what the fact notes versus opinion notes are, and then you'll move on to video number 2. Now, we're going to look for both facts and opinions. Facts can be proven, opinions cannot. Now, when we are writing down facts, we really want to put that information in our own words. So we do not want to copy it word for word from the article. When we're putting opinions down, those we do want to copy word for word and put in quotation marks so that we don't accidentally change somebody's wording, because that might change what their opinion looks like, and we don't want to misrepresent them. So as we're filling in our notes, if we find a fact, we're going to paraphrase it and put it in our own words. If we find an opinion, we're going to quote it, as in we're going to copy it word for word and put quotation marks around it. So at this point, you can move on to video number 2.